This is the Inclusion Think Tank podcast, where we talk about inclusive education, why it works, and how to make it happen. Laura Martinez joins me today to discuss her workshop titled Enhancing Student Success, the Power of Progress Monitoring, and what important information attendees would have gained from attending her workshop. I would like to welcome everyone back to a new episode of the Inclusion Think Tank podcast. I'm your host, Arthur Aston, and today my guest is Laura Martinez. So, Laura, thank you so much for joining me for the conversation today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, I'm excited too. We have worked together at All In for a few years now and haven't been able to have you as a guest on the podcast. So I'm excited that you're joining me today for this episode.
Yes, I'm so happy as well.
Yes. So to start off the conversation, I ask my guests to introduce themselves. So can you begin by sharing a little bit of information about yourself? Anything from how you became interested in the world of inclusive education, your job title and some of your responsibilities that you have at All In, and if you have any free time, what are some things you like to do for fun?
Sure. So my name is Laura Martinez. I am an inclusion facilitator at All In for Inclusive Education. My job as an inclusion facilitator is basically just helping schools create inclusive environments where every student, including those with disabilities, of course, they all feel welcome, supported, and given equal opportunities to succeed. We do that through professional development, coaching, planning sessions, support meetings with administrators, etc. This is the fun part in my free time. I love to travel. I like to read. I love to try out new restaurant with friends, just the typical normal person day to day.
That's great. Yes. I have people introduce themselves because you can always best describe what it is that you do and the parts of your job that you enjoy the most. And um I love hearing the inclusion facilitators that I've had on the podcast. I love hearing them describe what they do and it just sounds like it's a creative job. It keeps you on your toes, and it's like a new experience every time that you go out into the school. So, thank you for sharing that and reading. I love that as a hobby as well. I've been into audiobooks the last few years more so than actual picking up books, but recently I was at a bookstore in Washington, D.C., and I actually picked up two books that I do plan on reading. So,
Yeah. I
yeah, so
have been
that's
very anti like audiobooks in the
yeah.
past because I'm like, oh, you need the physical book. There's nothing like the physical book. And I got a Kindle and it changed my life. So and I've also gotten into audiobooks recently, so yeah, I'm not anti-tech anymore.
Yes. I agree. The Kindle did change my life
Oh
as
my
well. I was
gosh,
like,
it's
oh wow.
amazing.
Yeah, that is so cool. That is yeah, the Kindle has definitely changed my life when I had got one of those. I was like, wow, this is a lot easier. It's a lot smoother to read
Yes, you
and
can read in
yeah,
bed right before going to sleep.
right.
It's really great.
Yes. My next question for you is, how do you define inclusive education?
To me, inclusive education is about making sure that all kids learn together in the same classroom while getting the supports that they need to succeed. It's not about separating or lowering expectations, but it's about making learning work for every child so that everyone feels like they belong and that they can achieve their best. And that can all be done in the same environment.
Yes, that is such a great way to explain inclusive education. It's everybody deserves to be in the same space together and it's the best way for everybody to learn. And a lot of times, as other people have mentioned on the podcast, um students all learn from each other at times. So it's great to have everybody there in the same spaces together. So,
Absolutely. And
yeah.
even in the work that I do as an inclusion facilitator, I feel like I learn a lot from the educators that I work with and the administrators that I work with. So I believe the same principle applies for students. Like students learn a lot from each other, so why not keep them in the same environment?
Exactly. Exactly. And so while we're having this conversation today, all of the episodes for the last few seasons now have been with some of the presenters from our either our winter inclusion conference or summer inclusion conference. So you were recently a presenter at the summer inclusion conference that we hosted back in June,
Yes.
and your session was titled Enhancing Student Success: The Power of Progress Monitoring. So my next two questions have to do with this presentation. Um, so can you share a brief summary of what your workshop was about? And then can you provide one or two takeaways that attendees would have gained from attending your workshop?
Absolutely. So the presentation is all about showing how progress monitoring can be more than just collecting numbers. It's really a tool for helping students succeed. I walked educators through the importance of progress monitoring, the different types of assessments, tools that they can use to gather their data, tips on how to use that information to adjust instruction in real time. And the goal is to make data collection feel less overwhelming and more empowering. So it's something that helps us personalize instruction, celebrate our students' growth, and work closely with families and colleagues to support every learner. I think the biggest takeaway from my presentation is that progress monitoring, again, is not just about collecting numbers, it's really about using that information that we get to adjust instruction and make those decisions in our lesson plans and in our interventions to make sure that our students are getting what they need and when they need it. I think the other key piece is student ownership. When kids can actually see their own growth and understand their goals and see how much they've grown, they're more motivated and invested in the process. I also think as educators, it's really easy to get caught up in the right way of doing things and become really overwhelmed. And progress monitoring works best when educators create a system for tracking their data that works for them. So it may vary from classroom to classroom, but that's okay. 'Cause, educators create systems that works for them.
That's so important that, everybody, just as everybody learns differently,
Right.
creating a system that works for you as the educator is so important because, what works for the teacher who is in the classroom next to you, it might not work for you.
Absolutely.
And so finding a way, something that works for you individually, is great. And then also, I love that you mentioned with the students being able to see their progress and keeping track of it because that does help so much when you can see where you started and where you're heading in the right direction. So that is two really important parts. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yes, it's not just gathering numbers and throwing them in a spreadsheet and say, okay, I did it, here it is, done.
Hmm.
It's more about how intentional you are and what you do with that data you collected. Creating visuals is also really important with that data. So, because teachers were always sharing with a lot of stakeholders, right? With the kids, with their parents. And so, translating that data into a way that everyone can understand it and it's accessible for everyone is really important. And I do think that when kids see how much they've grown, it serves as a motivator for them as well.
Yes, yes, thank you for that. So my last question for you is, can you share some of the resources that you commonly use, um, or that you share, for this presentation or any other presentation or workshop that you have done, that would be beneficial to our listeners?
So, in this presentation, I encouraged educators to create their own tools, being that I am encouraging people to create systems that work for them. Google Sheets has been the best tool for me when it comes to collecting data because it allows me to organize it in a way that works for me. When I was in the classroom, it was truly helpful to organize like my groups of students and The days that I collected data and the type of data that I collected, Google Sheets gave me a lot of flexibility with that. So I definitely recommend that. A lot of educators also enjoy Google Forms, and Google Forms is really good because it provides a visual representation of the data once you gather it, and then you can
Mhm.
export it into different platforms. So those two tools have been really helpful when it comes to progress monitoring.
Well, great. Laura, thank you for this conversation and sharing the overview and summary of your workshop that you presented. And Google Forms and Google Sheets and all of those, they are very helpful. And I like how you can personalize them to meet your needs for what you need specifically. So thank you for sharing those resources that are free for everybody. So that's
Yes.
yeah, that's always a good thing as well to bring that up. So thank you so much for your time today and for this conversation.
Thank you for having me, Arthur. It was a pleasure.
You're welcome. We thank you for listening to this episode of the Inclusion Think Tank podcast. This podcast is brought to you by All In for Inclusive Education. Be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. Stay tuned for new episodes of the podcast premiering every 2 weeks. We're all in. Are you?